With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress, singer, songwriter, director, writer, producer, Danielle Bisutti. So welcome, Danielle. That's a lot of hats.
It's a mouthful. I know. It's many, many hats. I just love storytelling on every aspect of it. And I just found myself wanting to express in more than one way. I'm a slasher, if you will. I'm a hyphenated slasher. But yes, it's so great to be here. I'm so happy to be spending time with you. And I love your background, by the way. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I have very few good ideas, but that was one of them. I was like, I just want a background where it's everybody yelling con.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I love you got Chewy back there too. Of course, his would be a little more, I can't do Chewy. Can you do Chewy?
No, yeah. That was better than mine.
That was the worst Chewy ever. I can do Yoda, but no Chewy's.
Chewy, he's had a little, maybe he's a little under the weather.
He's always got something back there in his, what is it? The epiglottis? Oh.
That's right. He's a little phlegmy.
A little phlegmy, poor Chewy. He's a Wookiee after all.
Danielle, I was so happy to have you on the show. Been a fan of yours for a while. It doesn't seem like it, but then when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, you've been doing this for a little while.
Is it, they call them journeyman actors and actresses? Yeah, I've been kind of kicking around for a while. Blessed to say, yeah, I think I booked my first official TV job at 23. And I booked my first short film at 21, just fresh out of college. I went, to get an education, because I always say just because you can walk and talk doesn't make you an actor. And, it's because you can put pen to paper doesn't necessarily make you a writer, which doesn't mean you shouldn't give it your all if it is your passion.
That's right.
I say do it, but also I think it's a little important to get an education, to learn from the greats, to learn techniques. And then you kind of figure out, what works for you, which doesn't take away from natural talent, by the way. I mean, listen, there are lots of different walks of life as artists out there. And so I think if you have the passion and you have a natural ability, it doesn't hurt to kind of, get a little education as well, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Although you've definitely got actors who have kind of worked themselves into being a great actor. And then you've got some that that's just them. They didn't have to do all that. It's just they're that talented.
From kids right out the gate. I mean, you can look at a Natalie Portman or a Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, you can look at, Dakota Fanning. You can look at a lot of different situations. I wanted to be that kid. I was like, Dad, please. My dad was a child actor, and he really just wanted me to go to school. And of course, he saw all my plays and supported my desire, my talents. He nurtured that. But, and then after high school, I had a choice. I could have just gone and hoofed it if I wanted to, but I decided to go to Cal State Fullerton University at Fullerton and UC Irvine. And I studied theater and musical theater. And I became, I think, well-rounded in where it all began, which was the stage, just how to build a character from the inside.
Well, and that probably helps with the behind the camera stuff as well. Kind of having that education, you're that much further along if you decide you want to step behind the camera.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You get every aspect of it. And my dad was a set dresser for over at CBS Radford. So he was on shows like Third Rock from the Sun?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Grounded for Life and Sybil and all these great sitcoms. And I had other cousins who were cameramen and first ADs. So I got to do some extra work, which was really helpful for me early on, because it helped me get my vouchers to be SAG eligible. And then, of course, I joined the union in 1999 and never looked back.
Was he nervous about you being a more of a child actor? Because the majority of those don't make it to adult actor.
Yes. And he was one of those child actors that always got picked. I mean, he was alongside Bing Crosby and alongside Frank Sinatra, and it was Gene Kelly. And there was my dad, just
all
right
those
there.
Guys.
Just those little guys. Yeah. Damn Yankees, Pollyanna, right next to Haley Mills. There was my dad. And all he wanted to do was play baseball. That's it. he was like, and it's funny, you hear that, like the actor that like makes it big. They're like, I just wanted to be a lawyer. And all of a sudden I became Gerard Butler's story, like, it's crazy. But and he loves me and believes in my talent. So, but I just think he wanted there to be that grounded, well-rounded and grounding of education and a school experience, which I think you can also bring into the relatability of just most human beings' journey, like the humanity piece. It doesn't matter how you do it. If you love it, do it. I'm just saying it could be helpful to learn, techniques.
Yeah, for sure. Was that where you kind of figured out that you could sing, or were you singing earlier in that?
I think I was always singing. My mom has a beautiful singing voice. I get a lot of my talent from her as well. She's an incredible writer and a singer, a musician. So singing was always a part of our family. Music, acting, film, pasta. We're Italian, so there's a lot of that going on. We were just a family of artists, and I started like tinkering around the piano around 4 years old. Carole King was one of our favorites. And I remember playing like a Carole King song at 4. I heard it. I had an ear, and they're like, oh, well, she's got musical ability. My grandmother was a great pianist. So it was always a part of it. And then I thought, well, this makes sense. Musical theater, right? Like, it's like I get to act and dance and sing. Here we go. Triple threat. Let's go. And I don't regret that choice. I mean, it's always like sliding doors, like, hindsight's 2020. There are a lot of things I would do differently. And
all of us, though.
And a lot of the hurdles and the adversity made me who I am as an actress today. So for example, with a role like Freya, to be able to dig that deep in some things that feel like betrayal or things taken away from you, or the struggle of, wow, this isn't what I thought my life was going to. There are plenty, you don't have to live through something exactly like that, but it's something akin to it, something synonymous with that, which I had in certain areas of my life and was able to pull from very deep parts of myself to fulfill Freya's journey.
Yeah, I love that. Was it difficult getting into the voice acting side of it?
No, and that's something I did really fall into, because it wasn't like, my mom can do all the Disney voices. It's crazy. And she
nice.
she would do all the little mice from Cinderella, and then she would do Cinderella. And it was just this cute little thing that would happen in our house. So I think because we both have a musical ear, I was like, oh, I can do these voices too. And the first voiceover job I ever got was Elsa's voice double, which I did, which the dolls, the Elsa dolls at Target are my voice, and also Elsa in Dreamlight Valley. Now, it's not my role. I didn't originate it. I am 100% aiming to sound like Idina Menzel. Like, she's brilliant. She's amazing. And it's an honor to be a voice double whenever they need me. But that was my first voiceover job. So, that was funny because my voiceover agent's like, I always audition for like a taco commercial. And I'd always put a little too much oomph into the taco commercial. And they're like, Danielle, you're just selling a taco. And I'm like, I know, but what does it taste like? The taco.
We love tacos.
But what kind? Is there cilantro? Are there chopped onions? So I don't think I have that skill of like more announcer type voiceover. And by the way, I would have loved it, because I mean, that's great money. I just don't have it. I'm also not a Home Depot mom. Apparently they're like, well, can you be a little more approachable? I'm like, I don't know. This is who I am. So there were certain things that didn't quite work out voiceover wise. And then huge things like Elsa's voice double, and working with the Academy Award winning team from Frozen as they're working out the script for Frozen 2. I was at Disney Animation. I was with them, and we were working through the script together. And I was voicing Elsa at that time until they finalized the script. And then of course Idina came in. And then as far as Freya went, it was an audition for a interactive game. And I was like, what does that mean? They go, well, it's kind of like Avatar. You're going to be acting out the scenes like on a theater stage kind of thing, all white. And then they're going to animate you. And I was like, hell yeah, that sounds really cool. Let's do that. And then the speech they gave me was, speaking of Lady Stark, it was very Shakespearean, this audition speech. And I was like, oh yeah, see, this is where the theater acting came in handy. I know Shakespeare. I'm going to do this as some queen, some lady, some regal, some woman who was in power. Everything had been stripped. And that was what the monologue was. I didn't know it was God of War. I did not know it was Freya. I did not know it was a goddess. I just knew that she once had everything and now her people had turned on her. And I just, got me right in the heart and the gut. And then
I love that you've just embraced it. Like you're Freya. You just owned it.
Yeah.
Kind of like Michael Keaton going around saying, I'm Batman. Just,
There's only one, let's be honest.
He's Batman.
Michael Keaton he ate that up, didn't he? He owned it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I love that you do that with Freya. I mean, why not? She's such a cool character.
And there aren't a whole lot of Freyas going around. You know, I think they had, it was Rene Russo, maybe in the Thor, Marvel Thor pantheon.
That's right.
Who ended up getting killed off relatively early. So, but like, you know, there's been a lot of Wonder Womans, been a lot of Batmans, there's been a lot of Spider-Mans, and, you know, everybody's got their own brilliant take on it. Some, you may like one more than the other, but it has been a real gift to feel like I've sort of in an indelible way put my mark upon her, but she also kind of impressed upon me as well.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible how, like I talked about being synonymous, like my life has felt like lockstep with her in a very sort of otherworldly, godlike way. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't expect all this, but I'm just receiving it. And so it's been a blessing. Yeah. Will
we see you on the show?
Everyone's asking. Let's get Amazon on the phone right now.
Who do I need to call?
You're so sweet. I know that's the question of the day. I hope so. I mean, I'm willing, I'm able, and I would love to. It would be incredible to then step from outside of the animation and be my own image and likeness, and to even grow further with her. You know, that's what you hear a lot from, you know, just actors that, you know, and I've had a few TV series where you get to grow with a character, and there's always more. And it's interesting too, isn't it? Like when you're painting, if they talk about painters, I do a little painting. I wouldn't consider myself a painter, but it's like, when does that last stroke go on there? I mean, you could keep putting the different nuance and shadow and light and different hues and but then at some point you have to say, that's it. And you have to walk away. I don't feel like that's it with Freya. I'm walking away. I feel like I've just gotten to the most like juicy core of who she is, especially with what they gave me in Ragnarok. I mean, from 2018 to Ragnarok, it was a complete 180, almost 360 degrees full circle. But now it's like it opens up to all of her backstory and all of her future. This was like a great cross section of her regaining her autonomy and sovereignty on her own terms. And it was a beautiful thing to play.
I mean, it's really interesting to me because, you know, I grew up with, you know, we had Pong and then Atari, but now now the video, I always tell the kids that I don't want to play your video games, but if you want to get out, you know, one of the Atari games, I might play with that. But now these games, they tell a story like you're watching a movie or a television show, which I'm assuming is why they're so adaptable now to a series, kind of like The Last of Us was that.
And it's incredible, isn't it? Because the IP is like, first of all, it's $1 billion industry, right? And then the IP is such that these characters become so beloved. You are spending hours of your time with these characters, and you don't have that fourth wall of being there on the screen. I'm here. You're actually controlling them. The emotions and the movements that they're doing, I can only imagine, because I don't know how to do those controllers either, by the way. I'm a real joystick, kind of like Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, girl. Me too.
But I can only imagine that it's like they're weeping not for Kratos, with Kratos. They're weeping with Freya. And you know, these fans do become quite accustomed to the actors that bring these characters to life. And then, of course, you know, certain decision-making happens at different levels that I'll never have control over, or, you know, the decisions that they make for any show that becomes adapted from a game into a TV series or film. But I can say one thing, and I think you could agree, the ones that succeed, as we talked about before we rolled the cameras, are the ones that stay true to the source material. And I believe the author or creators of that source material, right? Because they understand that world. And it's okay. Like you can go, well, here's my cover song, right? Like I did a cover song of a Lana Del Rey song called Video Games. And it was my little love letter to the God of War fans. Now, Lana Del Rey is the one that wrote produced sang that original version. Mine was a version of that. It stayed true to it to a certain degree, but it was my own spin. So I'm not saying that you can't take something and create this like whole new imagining of it that can be exciting. But
That's right.
I think you pull too far away from the source, you're probably going to lose a lot of that audience that loved it for a particular reason.
Well, and as a from the fan side, we're okay with you taking liberties. We don't mind being surprised as long as
Sure.
it fits the story. But at the end, we'd like the journey to kind of end up in the same place.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't always do that, which can be a little bit disappointing. I get it. Artistic license, you want to make it your own, but it's not your own. Somebody else created it.
Correct. Go ahead. Exactly right. It's not. And in a sense, it's like you have all the freedom in the world when you start from scratch. Blank page, page one, first word. You have all the freedom in the world to create that. Now, it's not that you don't have the freedom to do your take on it. It's just you already, the odds may be against you if you derail too far.
That's right.
Look, maybe someone doesn't give a you know what. Maybe they're just like, I don't care. I don't care if the audience is like, I don't care if we lose all our money. I've got to do this expression. Well, then I can appreciate your conviction.
That's right.
And I still think sometimes it might be the smarter choice to stay somewhat close to the source.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that. My granddaughter has one of those Elsa dolls.
Oh,
I didn't realize that was your voice on there, but yeah, she carries that thing around everywhere.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. I was so excited when I got to bring that. It was 2 Christmases ago. Was it 2019 into 2020? I think it was 2019 into 2020, before the world ended. Right. And then, that year it was the God of War game signed by Cory Barlog and Chris and Sonny and me to the nephews. And then the nieces both got the Elsa doll. And they, at that point, I think it was a turning point. They were like, our auntie's really cool. She's Elsa and Freya. Like she was just our auntie a few days ago. So it was kind of like,
you jumped in their eyes a little bit.
Yeah. They're really, I love
so my son said your character on Madden was entertaining. He's a big Madden fan. He said she was a little nuts, but he enjoyed it.
She's a complete unmitigated like nut job. Like Claudia, and they edited a lot out. Like I don't know what was going on. I guess they just wanted to, again, here you go. Here's the example. They wanted to play a little bit with the franchise. They wanted to add maybe a little humor and a little more of these relationships. Now, I'm not saying that Madden didn't already have that. Madden knows Madden's recipe.
That's right.
But I think they were trying to do something a little different. And I think the powers that be, once they saw it all together, were like, this might be a little too off the rails. So my character was way off the rails. And I think she went from like substantial to pretty much a supporting character. But I loved working with EA Sports. I loved working with Mike Young. It was incredible. And I loved being a part of the Madden franchise. Yeah, sure. That was great.
I mean, that's pretty awesome. You know, not too many get to be a part of the Madden franchise. I mean, it's been out now for what, 25 years, something like that?
Yeah, it's incredible. They just keep pumping that out, and it's just a well-made game, all of it. And you know what's interesting, what's fun is that Scott Porter, who was in Madden 20, I believe.
Yeah.
It wasn't face of the franchise. I'm forgetting the name of that Madden 20, but he was in the one right before the one that I was in. And then he ended up being Heimdall in God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So that was fun to be able to work with him on 2 different.
Isn't that what happens though with voice actors? You run into the same voice actors more often than you run into the same actors.
Yeah, I think so. I'm wondering if it's a smaller space. I think it was at one point a smaller space. And now that it's like becoming, more adaptable into TV and film, there might be, more people gunning for these types of roles. I think actors just want to work, we want we want compelling roles. We want great scripts. We want to work with people that we love. And I think writers and producers are the same way. I mean, if they can trust you, right, to not only breathe life into their character and maybe even think of things they didn't think of, because that's the actor's job, to find different nuances. Of course, the writer lays out the roadmap in the most thoughtful way. And you can show up on time and you can just have a positive attitude and be a team player. And, not get wasted on the weekends and come hungover on Monday. I think that they think that's a reliable actor, and I want to keep working with them. I think that that's, you know, kind of what I think that's what happens with a lot of
yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, the lines are blurred a little bit now. It used to be, you know, if you were a movie actor, that's all you did. If you were a TV actor, that's all you did. But now everybody kind of moves around in the space, and you've got video games in there now as well. Plus, you got all these streaming services. So incredible. It's just, there's so much good material out there that you would think in some ways it would be easier, but I don't think it is. I think it's just as hard because it's opened it up, and now the pool that they're getting actors from is so much larger.
Yes, I would say that I feel very grateful back in 2014 when I had my audition for Freya, that it wasn't the most popular genre. Not by gamers, and I don't say that I'm not taking anything away from the brilliance of video games. I'm saying copied by actors, you know, maybe because there's been a lot of times in my career where I was like, oh, fantastic, oh my God, she nailed it. And so what's the name? Who's the bigger name we got to put in the part, you know? And I just think that's a bunch of BS, right? Because first of all, audiences like to see new faces. And I wouldn't call myself a new face, but maybe on a grand scale I am. So it's like, do we really have to see the same actors over and over again that are on this like very upper echelon, this niche? It's like, not necessarily. There's, you know, how exciting is it to discover a new song, a new artist, a new actor, a new show? It's exciting. And I think that sometimes they underestimate that. So back in 2014, I went in there, I won it. Corey said within the first 30 seconds, he knew I was his Freya, which is like music to any actor's ears. Who knew? Because I walked out and I was like, yeah, that went good. You know, you always, as an actor, you think it's mine every time. You've got to own it. You got to own it. And then to know that like he knew, like first few words out of my mouth, he knew. And it was like, oh,
yeah, that's rare. That's awesome.
Very rare. Yeah, I love that Corey Borlaug. Thank God for him. Right?
So all my kids are grown, but before they left the house, we used to watch True Jackson as a family, and I think was probably around the first time I kind of noticed you in something. But you were, I mean, that show was on for a little while. You were in most of the episodes.
True Jackson was so fun. A young Keke Palmer is like 14 going on 40 because she's just like the wisest soul ever. And of course, she'd been working since she'd been like, what, 5 years old. She's
one that made the transition to adult actor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, she's very smart, and she has a great, strong family supporting her. And of course, all the talent in the world and brilliance in the world. So yeah, that was a shoo-in. Amanda Cantwell was one of the most fun roles I've ever played. It was my first time ever having a series regular on a sitcom, on a comedy. I got to just be, you know, very goofy, sort of indignant, very, very affected by everything, which I think was so fun because they would always pull little pranks on her. And, you know, she was a little pissed. Like, here she is, this, like, you know, she's this woman in her early 30s. She's worked hard. She went to school. It's like, you know, to get this position at this amazing fashion house, Mad Style, right? And she finally earned her way. And then in waltzes this little 14-year-old. Oh, that should be Captain F. Flowers. And it's like, get rid of her. No.
Which is why the show was so good, because you had that kind of struggle. Yeah.
I think that relationship between Amanda and True gave it some of that push and pull that you needed. Yeah. And then you had all sorts of fantastical characters, great supporting cast. I mean, at one point, Julie Bowen, who's, you know, this huge star now from Modern Family, played my assistant.
Oh, right.
The show. Yeah. We had a really fun time at that. And I really cut my teeth on comedy. I really cut my teeth on just being a professional, also too, how the industry works, some of the great things and some of the not great things, you know, just finding yourself in a situation where, okay, how do I have myself at the end of the day through all of this? How do I be a team player? How do I, you know, because there's just so many things that go into like creating a product. Like I always say, like making a movie is a miracle. It is a miracle. And then it's on top of that a miracle when it becomes a huge success. There's so many moving parts. But Andy Gordon, Dan Kopelman, Andy Gordon, who created it, you know, these guys came from network TV, network comedies, some of the greatest comedies out there, like Just Shoot Me, I know was one of them. Notes from the Underbelly, so on and so forth. And so we were turning sophisticated jokes that I think the parents got, We were turning sophisticated jokes for the
That's what
parents.
makes those shows good, though. You have to appeal to the younger audience, but also to the parents, which is tricky.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well.
That's why I said we used to watch that one as a family. We also watched Dwight in Shining Armor.
Oh my gosh, I was waiting. I was hoping.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Morgan's been on the show.
Who was Morgan?
Sloan has been on the show.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's from West Virginia, if you can.
He is such a love. What a sweet kid. What a talented kid.
Yeah, he's talented.
Oh my God. When I saw the pilot, and I remembered seeing, you know, Caitlin, talented, Joel, all of them so talented. He had this very interesting way of being funny. And I thought he's either watched a lot of Monty Python, there's probably some Peter Sellers, and there's probably some Mel Brooks. And of course there was a lot of that for Brian and Leanne Adams, the couple who created the show.
Yeah.
And when I got that audition for Hexala, again, every time I'm like, it's mine. But I was like, oh no, I know this woman and she's mine.
Yeah, and she was.
She really was. And I'll tell you, whereas with Amanda, there was a lot of insecurities. It was my first show. There was a lot of pressures, and I learned a lot. I cut my teeth in a lot of ways on that. A lot of wins, a lot of losses, a lot of trial and error. I was able to take all of what I learned from that show and do it better with Dwight in Shining Armor in every capacity, just as a person, as an actress, as a comedian. And I got to channel Madeline Kahn the whole time is basically what I was doing.
Love Madeline Kahn.
She is to me the epitome. I mean, she's
and talk about kind of like a comedic genius. I mean, she was amazing.
Yes. Amazing. All those little subtleties that she would do.
Yeah.
And so with Hexala, there were times I could be big and broad and other times just very subtle, you know, and I would, what would Madeline do?
That's exactly right. Was Ben Koldyke on that show as well?
Who? Ben
Koldyke.
If Ben was on it, it was maybe a guest star.
Yeah, maybe. At some reason, that's someone that we've had on the show several times. For some reason, I was thinking maybe he was on there.
He was on Dwight. Okay.
At some point, but yeah, maybe not. So I just finished rewatching Parks and Rec. So I like literally just a couple of days ago saw your episodes on there. Still hilarious.
Professor Linda, that was so fun. And that was a moment where, I mean, you go on lots of different sets and some are more welcoming than others and some really love each other and get along and sometimes not so much. This was a set where people genuinely loved each other. And
you can tell.
Oh my God. And I would attribute it to Nick Offerman, Amy Poehler, you know, Rashida Jones, like Chris Pratt, you know, some of the nicest people. And it was just such a joy to be able to work with them because they were very open to improv, you know, and here I am, you know, sitting across from Chris Pratt or Nick Offerman, and I'm improvising with them and they're allowing me to play with them. And mainly I'm just like, don't pee your pants because they're so funny. So I was just trying to like block out a little bit of what they were throwing at me and stay in the pocket of the improv. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And that's such a great show. I love having like when I'm working, I like having a sitcom on in the background that I'm familiar with, because then I know what's happening without even looking up. So, you know, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I kind of run through, you know, I've been through Big Bang. I've been through, we watched Schitt's Creek again. I've been through The Office, been through Friends. So I was like, Parks and Rec, that's the next
You're hitting all the great ones out of the park. I was going to say, those are the ones that you'd have, like they become like your friends, like how Friends became your friends. I also have to mention Rob Lowe, also one of the nicest guys ever, you know, and it was just so funny to like, Professor Linda's like, completely not interested at all in like, you know, the beautiful specimen of man. She just wants the guy eating the after dinner steaks, after dinner omelets, whatever he says, Rob, Ron Swanson with that mustache. I mean, and the way Nick Offerman just owned it with such simplicity, you know, I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun. I felt very welcome. So I'm always grateful to that cast.
That was such a good show for like, you got a lot of acting before they even said it.
Yes.
You know, you had those actors that just, you could tell by their expressions and just the little movements and stuff, and it would be hilarious, and they don't even have to speak. And Nick Offerman was probably the leader of that.
Oh, absolutely. And you think about The Office too, like all the times that like Jim would look at the camera, or like Dwight Schrute. I mean, and that's what, and I loved that format, that sort of mockumentary where you could kind of you break the fourth wall and sort of like let the audience know what you're feeling, and then kind of bring yourself back into the scene. Hysterical. They nailed it.
I don't think we realized just how good we had it on some of those Thursday night lineups of comedies. I mean, for years, their lineup was just amazing.
Absolutely.
You know, from 8 to 10, some of the best comedies on TV were on at that time.
It's true. And now everything's a little scattered with all the different streaming platforms. I mean, a good show is going to stand out, and, you know, the best type of advertising is word of mouth. So you're going to usually hear it from your friends that you trust, or on Twitter or whatever. You got to see this show, you know, and you check it out and see what you think. But yeah, there's been so many great shows. And I think it's a real joy, not only for a writer, but also too for an actor, again, to grow with that character through a series. Like I loved growing with Hexel. I love growing with Amanda. I'm excited for my next series. I don't know what that is yet, but
it's coming.
I'm feeling ready.
Maybe it's God of War.
Maybe it's God of War.
Did playing Freya, did that help you when you got to do Wonder Woman with Lego?
That's interesting. Yeah, Wonder Woman with Lego. So yeah, I got to check off a few boxes. Now, I've always wanted to be Wonder Woman, and I'm hoping that there'll be another format.
I mean, you're in now. You've shown you could do it.
Yes. It was a lot of fun doing that. And I think I was a little too excited when I realized, I was like, finally, I don't care if it's the Lego version. I get to be Wonder Woman.
Yeah, you get to say you're Wonder Woman.
I get to say that I'm Wonder Woman.
It doesn't matter what version it was. You played Wonder Woman.
It's true. And that Lego's pretty darn cute. Let's be honest.
It's pretty good. It's funny.
She's always got a little bit of a sexy quality to her. She's Wonder Woman. She's strong. She's everything. She's full femininity and full force.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to pick some, like a strong female character, you can't get much stronger than that.
I mean, between Freya.
Maybe Freya. Yeah.
Freya, Elsa, and Wonder Woman, I feel like, you know, it's so funny sometimes when I'm like, I think about this, and because I've since 2019 then had all three of them. And I would be at the gym, like in a spin class, and I'd be like kind of dragging my feet. And I'm like, I'd look in the mirror and be like, you don't have room to drag your feet. You are Wonder Woman, you are Freya, and you are Elsa. And I'm like,
none of them would quit. You better pick it up.
They're exhausting me is what they're doing.
Did I see that you've got your own little production company?
I got my own production company, Perfect Timing Productions. Which is aptly named because it just, at some point in life, you realize, you know, things that you may have wanted years ago, weren't quite ready for whatever reason. I do believe in God's timing. And there is that spiritual component, whether you are religious or not. There's something that's not in our control. If we can just admit that as human beings, we might be okay. There's something else going on there. And so Perfect Timing Productions, my stepdad actually helped me set that up. It was my company. It was right around the time that I booked my first TV series, and I wanted to incorporate myself. At that time, I thought I wasn't necessarily thinking it was going to be the name of my production company as well. And so, yeah, we did a short film called Little May, which was award-winning, which was great.
Very nice.
Got a TV pilot that's now going to be turning into a web series. I'm going to be finishing that up this year.
That's pretty great. What's that one called?
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. It's a dark comedy, gal pal little duo called Damsels. And I tell people, if you like Dead to Me and Bad Girls, is it Bad Girls is the one? Oh, the Good Girls.
Good Girls.
Good Girls, the opposite. Yeah. Dead to Me and Good Girls.
I think Bad Girls may have been a Western.
It was with Annie McDowell and Drew Barrymore. I was my favorite. So that is going to be deliciously dark and fun. And definitely be obviously promoting that on all my socials when that's ready to go. We're hoping for sometime in the fall. We just have a little bit more filming to do, but this has been a process, like since we've been developing this and shooting things since like 2014.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a web series. Will it also be on a platform like Amazon, something like that, where you can watch it?
I think that's the one that we may go for, to see if we can have the web series up there and then just promote it and kind of do our own deal. And the idea is to build a fan base and then, you know, bring it into a network and say, okay, here's all of our followers. Here's this great IP.
Then you make it into like a full thing.
It'd be fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, at that point, like I could either play one of the lead roles or maybe just run it. Like it doesn't, I mean, I feel like I've lived that character and I would absolutely know how to do it, but we'll see what happens with that one. But even more exciting. So then we shot, I don't know if you saw this, but I did the music video I was telling you about, the Lana Del Rey song.
Yeah.
So as a love letter to the God of War fans, back in 2019, after getting my BAFTA nomination and everything, I was like, gosh, you know what? This role and these fans, this game has given me so much. I want to give a little love letter back. So I thought, I'll sing video games from Lana Del Rey. It's the cutest, like, go play your video game, baby. Like, I love you.
Well, you've got a terrific voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It's really pretty.
Oh, thank you. All that church choir singing when I was little. So that turned into this like epic 5-minute fantasy film inspired by Freya and the Valkyrie. And all of a sudden it occurred to me that it could be a bigger expression. I could show what I can do with my production company on a dime, the creativity level, because it looks a lot more expensive than it was, and show what I could do as a musician, as a singer, as a performer, but also just within this world that I love so much. I grew up loving, you know, Clash of the Titans and
me too.
All the fantasy films, all the queens and kings, the goddesses and the gods, the mythologies, the pantheons. I loved all of it. And I always wanted to be in a film. Of course, I'm in this video game, right? But I wanted to be in a film or TV series, a little bit with Dwight playing a witch, where I could, I wanted to be in Game of Thrones is really what it came down to. So I was like, let's do a live action 5-minute narrative about Freya and the Valkyries, remembering who they are, breaking Odin's spell, getting their wings back, and flying off to Ragnarok. And that was basically the simple story. And we did it.
Yeah, I love that. I think what an awesome piece to grab for a song. I love that.
Thank you. Song of the Valkyrie. Yeah, we got plans for it. We have a little animation that's been happening with it. Who knows? It could turn into an animated series, live action.
That's exciting. Oh, animated series would be awesome.
Yeah, I will. When we're done with the interview, well, I can say now people can go to Perfect Timing Productions at YouTube channel, and you can see the live action version. And then there's one that has animation. So yeah, we're going to start using that as a pitch and see if we get any bites on it.
Are you doing the directing on these, or do you bring somebody else in to do that?
That was a co-direct with my DP, Stefan Colson, who's also been my DP for all my projects. That was our 5th project together, and we're about to move into our first feature film.
What's the genre on that one?
Dystopian sci-fi thriller horror.
Ooh, now you're speaking my language.
About AI taking over a household.
That's kind of scary. Especially now, because you're seeing stuff out there and you're like, hey, isn't this what got us in trouble?
Right. Isn't this what we were like, we were being forewarned back with the Terminator and all these films that came out? Yeah, we've developed this relatively quickly. And I'm a co-writer on it. It'll be produced by my production company, and I'll be co-directing and acting in it. I can't direct it on my own. I don't want to direct it. In fact, I wasn't even thinking about necessarily directing it at all. But we are keeping this as contained as possible, and we want to move fast with it because, as you know, every day something new about AI comes out. And so I won't say much more about it, but I will let you know that
it's tricky trying to direct and act in something.
Yes, absolutely. Which is why when I'm acting, Stefan will take over as a DP. And then when I'm not in scenes that I'm not is when I'll direct those scenes. And we'll talk about shot list and things like that. And I think for this one, Stefan probably won't be camera opping. He'll probably just be behind the monitor, truly just, masterminding it there as the DP and co-director. So yeah, we're still putting the pieces of that together. We have a table read this week. So we're about to move into casting. It's very exciting.
Table reads they're exciting, but very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, table reads are interesting. As a writer, I find them highly beneficial. It's crucial to hear it out loud. You don't know where you're long. You don't know if, oh my God, we repeated that 5 times. You only need to say it once or twice, maybe 3 at the most. And parts where it may drag or parts that are confusing. At the end of the day, I think it's, you got to have the heart and soul in there, right? Like, I think one of the reasons why God of War and God of War Ragnarok were so powerful were they upped the ante on all the gameplay, but it was about the father-son relationship. It was the father-son. It was the mother-son. It was the relationships. We have to keep the humanity piece in these stories. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of explosions.
Well, it's just a game.
Yeah.
You're going back to the games we used to play.
Right.
Or it's just a shoot 'em up game.
Although I did get a little emotional when Mr. and Ms. Pac-Man met and they had their little kiss. They were just working their way through the ghosts and getting those pellets to come together.
There's a love story.
There's a major love story. I get very emotional. And then, of course, there's a love story in Mario, Princess Peach and Bowser and Mario. Let's talk about that for a minute. Holy cow. That's become quite the massive success.
Oh my gosh.
That IP's been around since the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has. When you were growing up, were you a skater? Did you hang out at the skating rink?
Heck no. I would fall flat on my, what? I don't know how skaters do it. I was a roller skater.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, a roller skate.
Oh yeah, I could roller skate. The skater boys were always really cool and really like all the girls wanted the skater boy. I did fall in love with a blonde skater boy named Johnny Jansen. And he wore like Maui and Sons.
Johnny Jansen sounds like a skater.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds straight out of like a Karate Kid, right? He's like the blonde, cool kid, the surfer, Maui and Son shirt, yes. But no, I'm not a skateboarder.
Yeah. Used to hang out at the skating rink and play the video games. And
oh yeah.
That was a hot place to hang out when I was an early teenager.
Straight out of Stranger Things right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you've also done, with all of this stuff, you've had your turns in the horror genre.
Yes.
All right. So you did one of the Chuckies, right?
Yes, I was blessed enough to have that dog get me with a butcher knife.
I mean, if you're going to be in a Chucky movie, don't you want to be killed by Chucky?
Well, it depends, because now there's a TV series and it's like, oh, I wish I didn't die.
That's true.
Bring me back as another character. I could put on a blonde wig. Curse of Chucky was so great for so many reasons. First and foremost, Don Mancini, one of the most brilliant directors I've ever worked with, and has become a dear friend. Love him so dearly. And so excited with what he's been doing with the TV series. Like, he's been crushing it on an artistic level.
I was very skeptical that could be a good TV series, but it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And Chucky, so duplicitous and so maniacal. And so, like, one second you're feeling for him and the next second he's just a mass murderer. And those scenes are really hard for me. Like, I tell in a lot of my interviews, like, I have a love-hate relationship with horror, because I love exploring the darker aspects of humanity, but when things become like gratuitous or like a senseless killing, it really hurts.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have trouble with that.
Yeah.
I don't like violence for violence.
Yeah. I don't like it either. It just doesn't, it hurts me. It hurts me. It really does. So I have a hard time, but with Curse of Chucky, there, it was like, okay, first of all, when I read the script, it was just a brilliant script about this like family warring with each other, and these two sisters that, like, Barb thought she knew what was better, and Nika wanted her independence, and this house and their mother dying and everything. And then the way he tied Chucky into it. Like, I love how this Charles Lee Ray story has just been like weaving its way through generations. Like, this serial killer doesn't want to die. You can't kill him. But that was the return to horror, terror, and the darker edge of Chucky that I think the fans really liked. I love the Hitchcockian sensibilities about it, like the old Gothic, mansion.
Yeah.
And then working with Fiona and Brendan and Maitland and and of course Dawn was an absolute dream. I loved it.
Yeah.
Had a great time.
When I first saw Chucky, the original one, back in the 80s or whenever it came out, and I saw it at the theater, I never would have imagined that 40 years later we'd still be seeing Chucky things, but that's how well done it is, or it wouldn't have survived.
Nobody wants the doll to die. That's the problem. I think that, like, if we collectively really wanted him to go, and it's amazing. Like, I go to these autograph signing conventions on occasion, and I meet these kids that they're carrying their little Chucky doll.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't scare you. They're like, no, he's my friend to the end. I'm like, oh dear God. I don't know how, but more power to you, because that doll terrifies me.
Yeah, I could tell you there would never be a Chucky doll in my house. It's
No.
not happening. Or
Chucky
any of the other scary dolls.
He's not on your background.
He's
not saying,
Mm-mm.
what is it? Meister Khan.
Meister Khan. Yep.
He's not saying Meister Khan.
No, he is not.
He doesn't.
I don't want anything that's going to scare me on my background.
Yeah, well, you have Jaws back there, and that's pretty terrifying.
You know, my ex-wife is absolutely terrified of sharks. That's her, like, just freeze up type of thing if she sees a stuffed animal shark.
Oh, okay. Well,
with stuff. So I sympathize with her, but I told her I was like still gonna put him in the background. But
gonna put him in the background.
Try not to
highlight. I hope that's not what broke y'all up. She's like, I'm drawing the line. It's either Jaws or me.
That's it. I was like, well, I just love the background.
Oh, baby. I'm so sorry, baby. Thanks for all the years, but I'm gonna choose the shark.
Yeah, it fits right there.
Perfect, right by the Hulk. They're hulking out
together. Didn't you do Insidious too? Like a couple of those.
I did. Talk about another master mind to work with, James Wan. Incredible experience.
Yeah, those movies are creepy.
No, right. So that's a different kind of terror, right? That's a supernatural things that get glom onto humans and families and get passed down from generations. Like, that stuff goes very deep. And James Wan and Lee Wanell, who wrote it, incredibly talented. What a great franchise. Insidious is becoming that whole world of like Annabelle, The Conjuring, Insidious. They're all kind of akin.
I know, there's so many of them now.
Yeah. They Blumhouse, right? Jason Blum doing some things over there.
Scaring the masses.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So that, working with Patrick and Rose Byrne, Barbara Hershey, fantastic experience.
You have worked with like all the good actors.
I've worked with a few stellar actors, and I've learned, through the journey of all of it, learned so much. You can learn so much by the actors that you work with. Absolutely.
Yeah. Was Glimmer the last album that you put out?
Oh, you're so cute. Look at you. Glimmer was ages ago.
It's been a while.
Now my songwriting has been like, I did like a collection of songs. Really of course, like, who wouldn't have wanted like a record deal? That would be amazing. And of course, I'm always open to anything still happening in my life. I like writing songs for TV and film, in particular films that I've been in. So I've been kind of doing that like alongside a lot of these different projects I've done over the years. And just one right now that I did last year, we just got accepted to a pretty great film festival that's going to take place in London.
Oh, that is exciting.
Yeah.
Are you going to the film festival?
Oh, yes. Oh, most definitely. And I would say that's like a fantasy psychological thriller horror film called The Blue Rose. And I tell people, if you like David Lynch, if David Lynch,
love David Lynch, and
Stanley Kubrick wrote a 1950s film noir in the vein of LA Confidential, two detectives trying to solve a mystery in the world of purgatory.
Okay. Yeah, that's a concept.
It's a concept. And he also has this kid that wrote it, was like 16. His name is George Barron. He's incredible. He's now like 17, but he's just like an auteur, to be like an auteur at that age, and to have, he's got Ryan Murphy, like art direction sensibility. This kid is so talented. I'm actually reading another script of his that I don't know if it's going to go, but we'll see. He's like, I have a role for you. I was like, oh, I love it. Let's just keep making movies. But I wrote a song called The Blue Rose in honor of my character, Norma Steele, very femme fatale, very much of an enigma. You don't know what she's up to.
Yeah. She sounds like a mystery.
She is a mystery wrapped in a riddle. And she might be a little dangerous.
Okay.
So I wrote this song called The Blue Rose and recorded it with my music producing partner, Rob Christie. And I just listened to the master. It sounds beautiful. And I think what we're going to do is we'll probably shoot like a music video of me maybe playing piano and singing it or whatever, like sort of a la Norma Steele, but then like intercut scenes from the film. So that song will have a life. I guarantee it.
That's awesome. Well, Kenny Loggins made quite the career doing just movie type of music.
Highway to the Danger Zone. Do it. Get it. Hardcore. Yes.
That's pretty exciting. Do you play anything besides piano?
Guitar, ukulele. I would not call myself a guitarist or a ukuleleist. I would say I can play those instruments and I can strum them and I can songwrite on them. I'm the most comfortable at the piano. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a musical gal.
Yeah, I think I'm very envious of that because I'm not musical at all. Most of my family is, and so I can appreciate it, but especially the instrument playing. That just amazes me because I am just inept.
What would be your instrument of choice? You want to shred?
I'd probably choose piano. My mother plays piano. Most of my family. I grew up in a Baptist church. My grandfather was the pastor, and so everybody in the family played something or sang.
The organ.
The organ. My grandmother played the organ. My aunt was the piano player. It's one of those things. So I always enjoyed that, and I tried for a couple of years to learn piano. It was a disaster. my aunt was a music teacher, and I mean, she tried. She had so much patience and nothing. It did not stick at all. I was like, we need to put both of us out of our misery.
How kind of you. Well, and you can, there's something to be said for being just an avid music lover, right? A collector of vinyl. I think we need the people that love the music, and they need the ones.
Do you have any of your music on vinyl?
That would be really awesome. I think at some point that'd be fun to press a vinyl. Maybe maybe I'll do the Blue Rose on vinyl.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a good one to do on vinyl.
Oh yeah, because the artwork could be really beautiful, and it's a love letter. I love these love letters, right? It's a love letter to the movie and to the character. And it's interesting because I think as a musician, sometimes my way into a character is through music. And so if I can write a song that sort of expresses their journey and their experience, it's almost like it gets into my cells in a different sort of way.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that. Is your music, is it just like, do you sit down intending to write something, or are you just inspired and then sit down and write something?
It comes to me in lots of different ways. Sometimes it'll just be a melody I'll be inspired for. And like, I've got my iPhone with me, who doesn't at all times. And so I'm sure I've got tons of voice notes of like musical ideas that I haven't gotten to because I'm like in the process of trying to get this movie made, but I'll probably put an original song in it if I don't write an original. I've got tons to choose from. And that also is a fun aspect of like, creating your own content is like, I've got so many talented friends. I'd love to just like stick their song in there, put them in my movie.
Yeah.
But the Blue Rose was very specific. I did a lot of backstory research to be able to bring this woman to life because I play these very complicated female characters often. Right. And I never ever like to take anybody at face value or judge them, like, okay, well, she's the villain, so it's going to sound and look like this, like what happened to her? Like even just the mother of death in Insidious Chapter 2, what won me that role was possibly, you'd have to ask James Wan. But from what he told me, it was one of his favorite scenes in the film because there was such pain inside of what she was doing to her son. It wasn't just, she wasn't trying to hurt her son. It's just that she was taking out that pain on him because of the father, right? And you don't really know Michelle Crane's story. In fact, I think it could be a really cool spin-off movie, The Mother of Death, because why was she dressing him like a little girl? What was that fact? So
yeah, what we would like to know.
I think so. In fact, I'm starting to feel like, I'm going to get this movie up and going and then maybe even reach out over to Blumhouse because I have a whole pitch for The Mother of Death. I had to create her backstory, just like I had to create Norma Steele's backstory. Because if they're doing these things that are like heinous, like why
are they doing that?
Why are they doing it? So that's what I do.
I don't think there's one, but is there a genre that you haven't got to do that you would like to do?
Well, I can't say sci-fi anymore since I'm about to like make my own sci-fi.
Yeah,
which
you're
I
doing that yourself.
love sci-fi. Fantasy, of course, that would be Dwight in Shining Armor. Also another one of my favorite genres.
Yep.
Comedy, drama, procedural, single camera comedy. No, I think I've probably done them
You've
all.
done all of those. I
think
remember you
so.
on Castle. You appeared on Castle at one point.
Castle. You
You've
know what
done most of the procedurals. You've been on there at least once.
check the list. It's funny because my friend who plays Sindri, Adam Harrington, he plays Sindri in God of War. We were both like, oh yeah, CSI check, NCIS check, Grey's Anatomy check. Yeah, we were like, because we've been at it for so long and we're grateful for that work, but it's kind of funny how you do every show. I would love to do, like, I think being inside the Ryan Murphy universe could be very interesting for me because
it keeps getting bigger.
He does have very formidable women. Also, I would say, House of Usher, Bly Manor. Why am I going to forget his name right now?
He's amazing.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about. He's amazing.
Dan Flanagan. Yeah, Mike Flanagan. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like trying to remember all these things. Mike Flanagan, incredible. I love to join them. Oh my goodness, love the work that they do. I think that finding my way into that world could be interesting because I think I play those characters well. It's also my fan base. But heck, I'd be fine just doing a like straight single camera comedy. I feel like I could dip into just about anything right now. But the one thing I would say is they have these really cool shows on now where there's music involved, like musical, like up here. I think there's one called Up There, or Up Here.
Yeah. My wife's watching that one right now. She loves it.
Oh, I hear it's incredible. Yeah. And so people are like, why aren't you on that show? How come you didn't? It's like, all right, guys. Yeah, I know.
Can't do everything.
Well, so, what opportunities are you actually getting and whatnot? But no, I think to be on a show where there would be singing and dancing could be really cool. Yeah. To flex my musical theater training muscle just a bit.
That's exactly right. I'd like to see you on Wheel of Time.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have such strong female characters on there.
Love it. Love anything in those pantheons, anything in those worlds. Lord of Rings, Wheel of Time.
Oh, yeah, we've got Ring of Power right now. That series is ongoing.
Rings of Power, yeah. All of
it.
Time travel, love time travel. Love it. Loved it since The Time Machine, the original.
Yeah, if you like sci-fi and fantasy, now's the time. There's so many of them out there, and they're all pretty well done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I'm a gun for hire.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched the Dungeons & Dragons movie. Really good. Really
Did they do a good job?
They did a really good job. Good good fan service, a lot of Easter eggs. Dialogue was really good. I thought it was definitely an improvement over the last attempt.
Oh gosh, I don't think I ever saw the original attempt.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Not that it was terrible. There was moments, but it just I think the animation and the special effects at that point weren't to where they needed to be to make a really good, Dungeons & Dragons movie. But this one was great. Really good.
And I would attribute the door for that, the pavement and the pathway for that was Stranger Things, right? Because Stranger Things kind of brought Dungeons & Dragons from like it was,
they made it kind of a thing.
Yeah, like cool to be uncool, like cool to be a nerd. Like, hey, the nerds, like they have their place and they're here.
Well, let me tell you that growing up, being a nerd was not cool.
I know.
I was like, where was this 30 years ago?
You're having your heyday now, baby.
Now, that's it. Yeah, good now it's if you're not a nerd, there's probably something wrong with you.
There's probably something a little wrong with you. Yeah. I thought it was always exhausting to try to be too like popular or cool. It was exhausting. I was just busy doing things.
Yeah. Just enjoying the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Danielle, this has been terrific. I hope you'll come back at some point. I feel like we could just keep talking, but this has been great.
Oh, I'd love to come back. Let me get a few things under my belt kicking around. And
well, anytime, just reach out. We'll get you back on. Yeah, you've got so many kind of cool projects going. Just anytime.
I will be happy to. Yeah, I think probably within like a good year's time, I'm going to have a few things that are going to sprout out there into the universe, into the entertainment pantheon, and then love to come back and share with you kind of we can talk about them, and then we can talk about what else is coming around the corner.
That's right. Yeah, we have to. Yeah. So that brings up a couple of things before we wrap up. Anything else that you're working on that you can talk about that we can kind of keep an eye out?
There are some NDA situations that are coming up, and then there are, and then of course my sci-fi, my dystopian sci-fi. I also have a psychological thriller, fantasy horror, that is sort of like being put over here, not on the back burner, but kind of here while we do the sci-fi first. So those are my two areas.
You can't do them all at the same time.
Can't do them at the same time. And yeah, I mean, I've just been writing my face off for the past 10 years, and I've got some great writing partners and some things I've written on my own. So it really afforded me to be able to have like all these projects queued up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on for me right now. So there's some things I cannot speak about, but there are things coming in the future. And but really this Friday is going to be my table read. So I'm so excited. And once I have, like, there are some people that you're going to recognize that I'm going to be casting in this. Once I have my cast, I'll be able to come out in the trades and announce,
that's exciting.
The cast. I'm very excited for that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I'll tell you real quick. I'll tell you my horrible table read story.
Yes, please.
Right. So I've got a actor writer friend, and she was working on a project, and asked if my wife and I would sit in on table read and help out with that. So it's a group of actors and us that aren't actors, So I stressed, I only had like 3 lines that I needed to say, but they were like further along in the script. So I had to, I had all this time leading up to it. And it was kind of like when you were in school and you knew your reading part was coming up. So you'd be reading it in your head, before it was your turn to read out loud. So I was so nervous about it, just a wreck. Well, it came to my part, my lines, and one of the other actors accidentally read them. Like jumped in and read them. So when he first started, I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to do it.
Oh,
but then after I was like, oh, now I kind of wish I got to do it.
It took your moment.
It took my moment.
Oh no.
I was like,
you haven't done a table read since, huh? That marred you. It scarred and marred you.
That was it. I was like, okay, I'm done. Obviously, podcasting's the route.
And you found your home here with your podcasting. That's awesome.
That's it. So last thing.
The nerd prevails.
The nerd prevails. You can't keep us. Well, maybe you can.
You can keep some good nerds down, but not the really smart ones.
That's right. That's exactly right. So when you're able to talk about some of this stuff, I assume you'll put it out on social media. So Correct. Where can we find you on social media?
Thank you. I am just at Danielle Bisutti across the board. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, you come right up.
Yeah. And I just opened a Discord channel.
That's exciting.
Inside scoop. They're kind of getting, they've actually been blowing up my phone right now. They are just a community that really have embraced me as an actress, but also a content creator and a filmmaker. Yeah. And so, yeah, they kind of get the inside scoop. In fact, before I go into casting, I'm going to get on my Discord channel and ask them some of their opinions about some of these actors that I'm considering. And yeah, it's really a love relationship between someone that appreciates what you do. And then it kind of gives you that motivation and to keep going. And that's really awesome. Important, I think, to have that reciprocity. So I love them very much. My Discord family, relatively new, but it's growing. And
I know, good for you. That's not an easy one, I think, to get into. But once you do it, it's not that difficult to do. So good for you, because that's, especially among younger people, that's one that's getting more and more popular.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat, it's like a big hangout. Like, what are you having for breakfast? Oh, I'm having, this thing I do called dipping eggs. It's a little soft-boiled egg. You dip your toast in it, and it's like, just kind of like family style.
I like family that.
Style. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, good for you. You're involved in so many different things.
I'm tired.
I bet you are.
Yeah. I think so.
Goddesses don't get any rest.
Oh man, they're timeless, aren't they? It's like
Yeah.
they never age.
That's a rough gig.
Oh yeah, yeah. But self-care is really important for every human being, especially when you do a lot of output. It's important to shut it off and
Well, you have to take a little time for yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And it's coming. It's coming.
I don't know if I believe you, but okay.
It is. I promise.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much. Let's definitely plan to do this again, but this has been.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited that this all worked out and getting to know you. And it sounds like we have a similar churchy background too. So we can dive into that next time.
Yeah, we got plenty we can discuss. Yeah, I mean, those church families, they're pretty great. They can be a lot at times, but they're pretty great.
They are. I attribute a lot of my sense of stability to my Christian faith and to having that relationship, with what I consider a creator of all things.
Yeah.
And it also, it's sort of, there's a humility piece that happens where it's like, no, we really are brothers and sisters. We really are connected. We really are part of this one thing. And I feel like a lot of times that is the missing piece overall. It doesn't necessarily have to. This isn't a talk about like which religion you should choose, but it is a talk about how we are in this together. And so that is my prayer constantly. I hope to be sort of a beacon of hope and love and light in what I do. And with my.
I mean, that's a pretty good goal.
Yeah. It's a goal that humbles me all the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not an easy goal to achieve, but that's a pretty good goal.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, Danielle, definitely. We will do this again, but this has been absolutely the best.
Sounds great. You have a great rest of your day over there in Virginia. West Virginia or Virginia?
West Virginia. Yep.
West Virginia. Yep. Right.
It's amazing the places you can go to and hear that song. Everybody loves that song.
Yeah. That was West Virginia's big moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful song.
I'm coming home. All right. Well, you take good care.
Yeah. Danielle, hold on one second. Well, that was just a lot of fun for me. Danielle Bisutti, such a fan of hers. I think she's so talented, beautiful voice, but I think she's absolutely just a terrific actress. We touched on a lot of the things that she has done, but I just wanted to real quick read through some of the shows she's had appeared upon that we didn't get to touch on because there's a bunch. She was on a couple episodes of Last Man Standing. She had a little role in Get Smart, Wizards of Waverly Place, Mom, The OC. She played I think her character's name was Joan, but she was on several episodes of The OC. Boston Legal, Charm, Dr. Ken, NCIS, Rizzoli and Isles, Beauty and the Beast, Bones, Anger Management, Grey's Anatomy, CSI, NCIS, Castle, Leverage, and of course, True Jackson and Parks and Rec, which we mentioned. Just a really talented actress. So I hope you enjoyed that, especially if you're a gamer, because she has had such big parts in several video games. I think it would be a crime if she's not on the Gods of show, at least as a cameo. She definitely needs to be. She could just play the character and be great, but at least as a cameo, she needs to be on there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Definitely don't take that for granted. Appreciate it so much. If you're finding us for the first time and you'd like to support us, we could definitely use the help. It's real easy to do. It's free. All we ask is that you subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. If you prefer to watch, it's YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. Just hit the subscribe button. If you're listening, wherever you listen to your podcast at, or whatever application you're using, just subscribe there. That'll help us as well. We're almost to 600 episodes, and you can find all of those audio and video on our website, meistercon.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, whatever we have going on, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.